Hey everybody, in this complete lesson taken from our Mixing in Cubase course, you'll learn the fundamental skills of how to get effortless pro mixes. It takes some practice and experience, but once you get your head around this concept, I guarantee you will get better mixes and much more effortlessly than ever before. So there are a couple of fundamental things here that make the difference between a pro mix and an amateur mix. Even though learning how to use compression, EQ, saturation and all that are very necessary and important skills, they are almost like just the icing on the cake. The real foundations of a good mix are picking the right elements or performance if you're recording, and giving those elements the right amount of space for the mix. Everything else is secondary to this. And not only does getting these two things right from the start mean your track will sound good, it also means you'll have a much easier time mixing your track, like much easier. And once you get this right, then compression, EQ, saturation, and all your technical mixing skills become important. I think there is a bit of a misconception out there that once you're good at mixing, you can make anything sound incredible. Well, this is just not the case. You know the old analogy, you can't polish a turd? Well, with mixing, you can try and polish that turd. You might even get it nice and shiny, but at the end of the day, it's still a piece of So let's look at these fundamental skills in a little more detail. So picking the right elements. If you're making your own tracks, then this is not really a problem, as you can take as long as you like and make sure you pick elements that already work together. If you are a mixing engineer for someone else, then you don't have that luxury, but I'll talk about that in the next lesson because that's another topic all on its own. So how to pick the right elements? Well, at the end of the day, this does come down to sort of trial and error, a bit of trial and error and experience, which means that you're going to have to practice to get good at this. But there are a few key things to keep in mind when selecting an element for your track, and this is really going to help. So first off, you can simplify things by thinking in frequency bands. So the lows, the low mids, high mids, and the highs. So for example, you don't have to worry about a kick, which is in the lowest frequency band, conflicting with the vocal, which is in sort of like the high mids to highs. But you do need to think about the lead synth, which is in the same frequency band as the vocal, and the same you need to consider the bass line against the kick as they are in the same frequency band, etc, etc. Okay, so how do you then approach two elements that are in the same frequency band? Well, there are technical things you can do like sidechaining and other processes, but we're going to cover that in detail in the coming lessons. Here we're purely looking at how to get separation through picking the right elements to start with. So there are two things to consider when picking elements in the same frequency range. One is the timbre or the texture of the sound. Some people call it the tone of the sound. And the other is the space of the performance, which I'll get to in just a sec. So with the timbre, so you can have sort of soft sounds, airy sounds, tough sounds, hollow sounds, etc, etc. So if you have an airy sound like a vocal and perhaps a dense sound like a piano, I know it doesn't say piano, but let's just think of this as a piano, then it won't matter so much if they sit in the same frequency band, as they will always have a sort of inherent separation. But if you have two elements that both have like really hollow timbres, for example, so let's just pretend that our vocal isn't actually a vocal now, it's something else that sounds very hollow, and then you've got another hollow sound, so they've got very similar timbres, so they're going to overlap on the sort of timbral or textural level and also on the frequency level. This is just going to cause messiness. So timbre is important, but it's not the only thing that matters. The performance of these parts also matter. For example, if we take our two hollow sounds, I know it still says vocal, but it's a hollow sound, okay? I'm telling you, that's what it is. And let's say that one of our hollow sounds is just playing like constant chord notes, so just a changing chords every bar, just play nice solid notes in the background. And then our other hollow sound is just playing like an arpeggiator pattern. So then in that circumstance, they might possibly be able to work, even though they are in the same frequency range and they have similar timbres. The performance actually makes quite a massive difference to how it will actually sit in your mix. Now, this is really vital to understand. You are not just mixing sounds, you are mixing performances. And if you have different elements all trying to take center stage, then your mixes are going to sound messy. It's really quite simple. You want to decide which the main element is. So if you have a vocal in your track, then it's probably going to be the vocal, but in trance it could be the lead, in dubstep it could be the bass line, in rock it could be the guitar solo, etc. And then we make sure that A, the vocal or whatever part you've chosen, is performed really well. Now again, remember that polishing a turd analogy, so make sure that the performance is spot on or no amount of mixing is going to help. And B, that no other element is trying to outperform it. Now this is key. Let one element take center stage and make all the other elements fit around this and give the chosen element space. Now this is not a simple case of just turning down the other elements. Remember, we are talking on a performance level here, not a technical level. And I do have a good example of this. So here we are, just a track I've been working on, and I'll just play you a bit of it so you can hear what the rough idea is. I like it how you're cheating on me. Everybody's here to find the love. Okay, so there we go. Funky little track, and you can hear that everything's basically got its own space. So the vocal's nice, the bass line is still pumping away, and the leads sound pretty nice in the background. Everybody's here to find the love. And you can hear that the vocals are cutting very nicely through the mix. Now, obviously, the synth here, the leads and the vocal, they are clearly in a very similar sort of frequency range. Now they have quite different timbres, so that's not too bad. They're separated a bit on that level, but also on the performance level, they are quite different. Now what do I mean by that? So the leads as they are, they're literally just playing just pretty much solid chords. That's all they're doing, and the vocal has its own sort of rhythm and its own sort of funky pattern to it. Everybody's here to find the love. So you can tell that the performances are different. They've got different rhythms. But if I then change the synths to have a pattern as well, so they're not just playing solid notes, so I'm just going to add an arpeggiator to these. Suddenly it sounds a lot more messy, and it doesn't sound messy because the synth and the vocal have the same timbres. It's not messy because they're in the same frequency range. It's messy because now the lead synth is kind of basically trying to be like a main center stage sort of player, whereas the vocal is also trying to be that main center stage sort of player. And it conflicts purely on the performance level, or you could say on a rhythmic level, but really it's about the performance. So this is the difference. This is it being messy. Everybody's here to find the love. And then everybody's here to find the love. Completely night and day difference between the two. So that's just to iterate really the absolute importance of getting the right performance for each part. And when I say performance, when I talk about it here, I'm not just talking about something that's been played in by hand. I'm talking about anything in your track has a performance. Even the kick drum has a performance. If you can sort of imagine it, if it was in an orchestra type thing, then the person playing the kick drum, their job would be literally just to hit it as perfectly steadily as possible all the way through. That is still a performance in and of itself. The drums have their own sort of, intricacies of performance. The bass line has that, the synth lead has that, the vocal has that. All of the parts, the arpeggiators have that. Everything has its own performance. So if you've got two main performances in there, is generally speaking going to sound a bit naff. So you really need to pick one that's going to be the main element. In this case, it's the vocal, and then everything else has to fit around that. Even if you have to change the rhythm of it, if you have to change the element, whatever it is, you just got to make it work around the main element. And for the most part, we are still talking about just in the same frequency band. So as you can hear with this particular track, the bass line's really active. It's all over the place. It's nice and pumpy, but it doesn't conflict with the vocal. It doesn't take anything away from it. So even though the bass line is a pretty strong performer, it's not taking away from the vocal because it's in a different frequency band or in a different frequency range. So this is the sort of key skill as a producer, as a mixer, is to pick the right elements from the get-go. To pick elements that always work together, or to have to change elements so they work in conjunction with another element. And if you get that right, seriously, your mixes become so much easier. It's almost like you hardly have to mix them at all, just like basic compression, a little bit of EQ, maybe some saturation, generally speaking, and you'll have what already sounds like a really nice, airy, spacious mix. It's not about your technical know-how as such. I mean, obviously that does come into it, like I say, but really, to get a good mix, this is where it starts. I cannot stress that enough. And of course, like any music making skills, like any skill really, it's going to take time to learn. You've got to practice this. You've got to try different things, see what works, see what doesn't work. But always keep in mind this idea that you are not just mixing sounds, you're literally mixing performances. And when that becomes clear to you and you start to really sort of understand that, it makes picking all the elements for your track and mixing them together so much easier. So that's it for this lesson. Thank you very much for watching, guys and girls. I will see you in the next one.